to Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Corden, and our mission is to make work fun again by building better leaders. Now, for the past few weeks, we've been really focused on the agenda of building up your resilience. This is part of our 20-week challenge. And the reason we want to build resilience is because that is what makes people flexible, where they bend instead of break when they're faced with challenges. And this is one of the top three elements that affect an organization's change success rate. So we look at the strength of the leadership, the strength of the communication, and just how resilient the employee body is. And right now there's a lot of stuff going on in the marketplace. Obviously there's things like this recession that's going on. We're starting to see a lot of layoffs in the tech community. And we want to make sure that people can withstand that regardless of what's happening around them, that they feel secure, they feel safe. And so we've been providing these lessons for the past 10 weeks or so. Today is our 10th lesson in the 20-week challenge. And so today we're really going to be talking about community and deepening that community and how that community can really serve you and how you can be of service to them. So let's get started. So when do I suggest this lesson? Well, let me back up a second. There's a couple of things that you should know if you're just joining us for the first time. This podcast is also on YouTube, and so you can check us out on this channel. But there's a theme sheet that goes along with this 20-week challenge, and you're welcome to get that in the show notes. You can always email us at shauna@shaunacorden.com or at podcast@shaunacorden.com, and Michelle will get that off to you. And the theme sheet just really helps you set some goals around these 20 lessons. It also helps you keep track on a week-to-week basis about what's working for you. And then at the end, of course, we want to celebrate. We want to party saying, hey, look how much I have grown over this 20-week period. So the lessons don't need to be taken in order. If this is your first one, by all means, start here. But about 9 weeks ago, we started with this theme sheet as our first lesson and deciding what it is you wanted to accomplish. So when do I suggest this lesson? Well, really, when it comes to community, if I hear a client talk about, gee, I really want to expand my hobbies, or my life feels kind of stale right now, or I feel like I'm in a rut or a routine, or maybe everything feels like it's at a surface level and I really want to deepen things. I want to deepen my connections. Or if they're ready to give back. So especially in the field of coaching, what I see is beginner coaches join chapters. As they get established, they're really, making some traction with their clients, et cetera, and their business is running. Their attention turns to that. And then as they may be slowing down or they feel like they have breathing space, they're ready to come back and mentor. And so it could be that you are at a space or a stage in your career or your parenting or whatever it might be that you want to give back, you want to contribute. And it could be laying rock on the nature trails in your local community, which I noticed the people doing in my community the last week or so. It could be that you want to mentor someone who's preparing for an important certification or an exam in your field. Or it could be just lending a hand to someone who's having a tough time. I read the most encouraging thing on Upworthy. If you don't follow Upworthy on Instagram, I really recommend it. Talking about a young woman, I think it was a young woman, who is really struggling after the death of her father. And if you've ever suffered grief from a loss of a parent or a sibling or a child, you know that it really can be a struggle to put things together. And she had moved to a new apartment, and 8-9 months later, she had still not unpacked. And one of her friends was really brave and basically like recruited all their friends and just said, "Hey, are you going to be home Thursday?" Something innocuous. And then they descended upon her and they basically like moved her in the evening. They unpacked all the boxes, they hung shelves, they laid out carpeting. They did all the stuff to really, really support her. And it takes some bravery to do that. I really admire it. But think about how lucky this young woman or young man was that had these friends that just said, "Hey, we're here for you. We're going to make you feel nurtured. We're going to get you settled in your place. We know you're having a tough time right now." And so that might be a way that you're contributing. Maybe you know someone who is struggling with an illness or someone who's just lost a spouse. I think that the meal train is always an amazing thing. When I had my heart surgery, I had a mini maze 10, 12 years ago. And my church group just poured it on. And it was quite uncomfortable for me to receive all this help because it was a lot more fun for me to give help. But boy, what a blessing. And so, depending on your vocabulary, this may be the way that you are a blessing to someone else in your community. So some key points about deepening this community. Your community is really all those people that are around you, both casually and intentionally. So the first time I ever took this lesson, I recognized that I was spending more time chatting with our mail carrier than my best friend. So that woke me up to two things. One, my mail carrier is part of my community. Number two, I need to be more intentional about scheduling time with my friend. And so we have these opportunities, but we have to be decisive about those and take action on those. So any group that you're part of, whether it's a book group, my daughter's part of a weaving guild, could be your profession, could be a chapter in your profession, things like that. Those are your community. Those people are your associations. How deeply you interact with them is totally based on your choice and how much you want to be a part of that. And sometimes people are ready to dig in and do a lot. And sometimes people are like, I'm ready to ratchet back my commitment a bit. It all depends. And we want you to be protective of your time, right? Because overgiving is one of the things that draws down our resilience. But sometimes focusing on others, volunteering, is one of the best ways to both boost our self-esteem, but also get us out of a pattern of focusing on ourselves too much, especially when it comes to mild depression. So you can also think about community as where you choose to spend your time. If you love to golf, if you're out on the golf course, you may not know everyone that you're playing with or the people that check you in, but that is part of your community. And if you are intentional about it, you could do even more with that. So think about the experience you really want to have. Develop what you want. Think about your time as an investment in the same way that you would put money into stock or your bank account or something like that. Where are you going to spend your energy and your time? Think about people who have similar interests and values. Think about continually upgrading. Sometimes we graduate from a group, and it's a little bittersweet because we really enjoy those people, but they're not at the point where we're really growing with them anymore. So then you have to make a difficult decision, or will you continue to spend time with them? Maybe you'll limit the time with them. Are you ready to grow in a different space? Now, I do want to caution that this lesson can take more time than other lessons. It takes time to investigate chapters, fellowship groups, things like that. So do recognize that this one is much more of a process than some of our other lessons that we've been going through. But the best way to determine where you're going to invest is what feeds you and what drains you, and act accordingly. So ask yourself, do I have a best friend? And do I have a best friend at work? Because even though that person may not be someone that you spend time with, outside of work, we all need a best friend at work. And that's one of the top indications of people's engagement levels. So if you're a leader and you don't see that with your staff, see if you can facilitate and encourage those bonds between people. Do you have a soulmate? Do you have people that you enjoy? A professional network? How are you contributing? And is this community coming from a need or a want? Right? Because needs can be unattractive, right? So when we feel people are needy, we all want to take a step back a little bit. But if you're ready to give and you want to give, that is a much more attractive space. So do think about that. One of the areas that I have observed in my walks, I think lots of people know I'm doing 75 hard, and that means that one of my workouts each day needs to be outside for 45 minutes. And so I regularly walk around a dog park that's near my home. And depending on the time of day that I'm there, whether it's 7 a.m. or 4 in the afternoon, I tend to see people who I don't think came together, but they're there and they know each other, and they definitely know each other's dogs, and they have come prepared. They come with their coffee, they say hi, I can see them chatting. Whether they see those people regularly or not, that is part of their community. So that's another way to look at that. If this is your first time, please be sure and invite your friends and your family, because a rising tide lifts all boats. I say that every time, but we do want to grow with our community. We want to lift them up. And this is a great way to do it. And it's a great way to have things to discuss and develop about. So don't forget, you can get the theme sheet at our site. And don't forget to like. If you're on YouTube, you can do the big thumbs up and subscribe. If you have questions, we are here to support you. We're putting out all this free content because we really want to help you and help you build your resilience. If you're a leader who would like to build the resilience for your team, and you'd like to personalize these lessons for your team, that's a possibility. We do these remotely. We can do them in person. So just let us know. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shaunacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.